What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Cool Colas here, and you are now tuning into a new video on my channel. But before we get on to the topic, I would love for you to do a few things. I would love for you to hit the subscribe button if you are not already subscribed to my channel. I would love for you to hit the like button. I would love for you to also hit the bell icon if you would like to get notifications for whenever I come out with new content on my channel. And also too, when you are finished watching this video, leave me a comment below so that I can come back to it and I can answer whatever question it is that you have for me or respond to whatever comment you have for me as well too. For today's topic, I want to talk about the difference between the strong black woman trope and the strong white woman trope. Before we get into that specific topic, I want to talk about the difference between a strong black woman and a sapphire. And the reason why I want to talk about these things is because I believe that they often get conflated, but I think they are two different things. The strong black woman is usually a black woman who's made to seem unappealing, cold, and she is somebody who is basically taking their trauma, like a black woman's trauma, and turning it into somewhat of a personality or an aesthetic. So in other words, they're this cold, unfeeling individual who is self-sacrificing and is always going out of their way to do for others, almost kind of like in somewhat of a masculine power role, but you're putting a black woman in that role. Whereas a sapphire is a very sharp-tongued woman, somebody who is very disrespectful, somebody who castigates other people. But the thing about this level of sassiness I'm talking about is that, and this is one of the big differences between the two, is that the sapphire is generally very emotional, whereas the strong black woman is kind of cold and unfeeling and kind of calculated. So the way they behave is different. Also, the sapphire is also kind of cute a lot of times. She's very pretty, she's very dolled up and that type of thing. So I think what the sapphire does is it almost gives black women this impression that they can be cute and look like they are feminine while still being very aggressive and abrasive. Whereas the strong black woman is very detached from the look of the typical black woman, which is very beautiful, and is somebody who's cold, stoic, and almost actually presents like a man. So again, one is emotional, sapphire that is, and one is very cold and calculating. But these are different scales of what I believe is projecting a black woman to be masculine, but in a different way. And I think the problem with these two individuals is that they play off of the trauma of black women, and they play into stereotypes of black women that are negative, that I as a black man and as somebody who's pro-black do not appreciate. So I don't like either one of these things. I think a black woman should be able to healthily, I feel like this is not really a word, but I think there is a healthy way that a black woman should be able to live in her femininity. She should be able to be protected. She should be able to be herself authentically and to embrace her femininity without having to feel like her trauma is making her have to step up into a masculine role where she's not protected and where she has to sacrifice for others instead of others sacrificing for her, which is really how it should be. Now, with that being said, I want to talk about the difference between the strong black woman trope and the strong white woman trope, because they are very different. So examples of strong black women, or as tropes would be characters like Annalise Keating from How to Get Away with Murder, Naniska from The Woman King, which ironically these are both roles that were played by your girl Viola Davis, and we'll get into that in another video. And then another role or example would be Okoye from Black Panther. So these are strong black women. They have very cold and tough exteriors, and they're individuals who are self-sacrificing for other people, typically other women. In the case of, like, you know, the Annalise character, not so much. I mean, it's just a bunch of students, but she's still self-sacrificing is the point. Whereas, you know, with the strong white woman trope, I mean, you have characters like, for example, Wonder Woman. You have the Diane Prince character, Wonder Woman. You have another example is Scarlet Witch, and another example is the Black Widow. So these are all comic characters. And the reason why I want to compare these is because I want to show you how they're treated differently and how they're actually written differently as well too. With the strong black woman, it's not that any of these black women are unattractive, and I don't want y'all to get into these colorist arguments and all this other shit. Y'all can see that I'm like a dark brown, like a brown to darker skinned black man, so I have no reason to talk shit about other people who are dark skinned like me. So I'm not saying anything about people who are dark skinned, but I think what they do, the white supremacists that is they try to take images of dark skinned black women and try to make them seem unappealing. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I actually think Viola Davis is quite attractive, but the roles that they put her in are to make her look like she is not attractive, and has nothing to do with stereotypical features like African features and all that, like a lot of y'all try to say. It's the simple fact that if you look at her, she does not look like somebody who would be presentable to a man who would be interested in her. She just doesn't. And the two roles that I said, same thing with Okoye. She's bald, you know, she doesn't have like a certain hairstyle, and I mean, even if you look at like her character, I mean, like, she literally got rid of her man and we didn't even see him in Wakanda Forever. And actually her man actually had a very good point in his rationale and why he actually sided with Killmonger. So it's almost as if they actually threw her into a strong black woman role, although they already had her in that aesthetic. But the point is that if you look at these three characters I just named, none of them look like these raving beauties that black men would want to talk to, or men in general would want to kind of kick it with anyway. So they look maybe at best, maybe at 6 out of 10s at best. Maybe lower than that in the case of like the Naniska character, and then in the case of you know, characters like that. So I would say that, you know, you can see that they were trying to not make them appealing, they were just trying to make them real tough. Whereas if you look at on the white woman scale, because I scale the way that white women look and black women look differently, because I believe that black women are the most beautiful types of women, so they're already on a higher pedestal in my mind. So I want you to have that context. But if you look at white women in terms of how attractive they are, I mean, look at Scarlett Johansson, very attractive for a white woman. She is you know, Black Widow. You have Elizabeth Olsen. I think she's attractive as a white woman, so at least a 7 out of 10, at least an 8 out of 10, 8.5, 8 out of 10 for Scarlett Johansson. And then for a what was the other character I said? Wonder Woman, for Gal Gadot or Gadot. I don't know how to say her last name. She's probably like an 8.5, 9 on the white woman scale. She's a very pretty white woman. But I think the point I'm trying to make, though, is that they actually are pretty and they look feminine as well, too, in those roles. So all three of them look feminine, and to a certain extent, they act very feminine as well, too. Even Wanda, or the Scarlet Witch, acts feminine, and I'm going to explain why. If you look at the Scarlet Witch, she was very motherly. She really wanted a man. She really wanted to be with Vision as well, too. So it shows that she has a certain level of respect for the white men in her life, because Vision was turning himself into a white man despite the fact that he was a robot, and he was married with her and they were having kids and all this other stuff, or this kind of fictitious image of kids, because you know she's crazy as hell, but like this fictitious image of kids. And well, she actually, I think, literally did have them at a certain point. So and then the events of WandaVision kind of skewed all that and stuff like that, and then you know, Doctor Strange. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make, though, is that she had this aesthetic of wanting to be a motherly figure. She was feminine, and she also had respect for men, specifically white men, and she was emotional. That's the reason why she acted so damn crazy, is because she was emotional. Then when you look at you know, Black Widow, same thing. She had a feminine side to her. She was very vulnerable, and she was willing to show that vulnerability. And she also was very calming when it came to the Hulk. She knew how to calm. It's almost to the point where he came out of Hulk state when she touched him, and she said, "Hey, what'd she say?" She said something like, you know, "How's it going, big guy?" or something like that. And there was clearly like some type of, you know, it was a little, you know, spark between them, and you could tell that her vibe was like calming to him. And she also was willing to sacrifice herself for Clint, who is the Hawkeye in Marvel and MCU. She was willing to sacrifice herself for him as well, too. So it shows that she has a respect for white men once again. So now you're seeing this trend. Now with Wonder Woman, same thing. Very powerful woman, very like a strong woman as well, too. Think about it. You know, Scarlet Witch, very powerful, one of the most powerful characters in the MCU. You know, the Black Widow was a badass, you know, very good fighter. And then you have Wonder Woman, who is also very strong as well, too. Again, she appeared very feminine. She had a very feminine vibe because of this kind of almost aloof, kind of like being new to a new world type of aesthetic that she presented. You know, you could kind of see the, you know, the awkwardness, like the low-key awkwardness. She also was very respectful of Trevor, even though he was not powerful at all. He was less powerful than her, and she still gave him hella respect. So I'm saying that to say that she still knew how to respect, you know, white men as well too, and still be herself, still be feminine while still also being powerful. Whereas in a lot of these other roles that I had just named, you know, the Annalise Keating role for black women, the Okoye role, and then for the Naniska role, they seem to either have contempt or not really a strong connection with black men, or if they had a connection with black men, it wasn't a very stable connection. So I'm saying all that to say that they tried to make their strong black woman characters have some type of instability with their men, specifically with black men, especially black men. And then with the white characters, they try to have them have some type of respect for the white men. And also too, you know, they make the black women not feminine, they make them cold and unfeeling. The white women, they make them feminine appearing, and they're also emotional or emotionally intact. And they actually show love to the people that are, you know, around them, that are actually the men who are of the same race as them. So those are the differences. And even when they have white women who are cold and unfeeling or stoic, or they castigate white men, notice that these little racist incel nerds, like white nerds, they get so pissed off when they see a white woman castigating them. That's why a lot of them hated Captain Marvel from the first movie, and that's why they also did not like the She-Hulk character as well too, because She-Hulk was in there just basically sandblasting all of them. But the reality is that although it was a bad show, so I'm not saying it wasn't. The main thing they were mad at was that it seemed to be a feminist show where they were castigating white men, and you could kind of tell that was the vibe. With this Captain Marvel character, it was less about the character itself, although she was stoic and they did not like that, but it was more about the actress Brie Larson, who they probably felt wasn't living up to that type of aesthetic that they wanted to see in their type of women. Because when their queens actually start getting out of line, they get to, you know, vetting and all types of stuff. Because when she made that comment about, I guess like when she was talking about A Wrinkle in Time, and she was talking about she doesn't want to hear what white dudes have to say about it. She just wants to see what it meant to people of color. They already were like, oh no, we don't really like her. She plays a stoic character. She don't know how to act. And then they started kind of scrutinizing her and looking at her personality and all this other stuff. And when she actually started calling certain white dudes out and stuff like that, they were like, oh no, we don't want her. And it got into this trope that I would call the let the niggas have her trope. See, Brie Larson is part of the let the niggas have her trope. And let me explain what that is to y'all. You don't necessarily have to be a white woman who's into black men. It's just that the dominant society has kind of decided to a certain extent that they don't want you, so the niggas can have you. It's almost like they're scraps and shit. So what they'll do, this is the criteria for the types of white women that they put in here. Like the white woman has to either be overweight or who they deem overweight. That's why you see a lot of these chicks in these nice neighborhoods jogging and shit, because they don't want to fall into that category. They'll either be overweight, they'll be kind of like stoic, cold and unfeeling. They'll be pass arounds, people who they know have literally gotten around before. They'll be people who literally have said that they like black men exclusively. They'll have to be like 40 plus, like beyond their prime, and somebody who is not attractive and beyond their prime at that point. They have to be somebody with multiple kids and no husband. You know, these are the types of white women who get castigated. And also too, I'm sorry, how could I forget the most important one, which is that they have to either disrespect or castigate other white men, and they get into that category. These are the different criterias that these white women can basically, that they would have to identify with in order to be put into this let the niggas have her category. Another good example, just so y'all know, would be somebody like Amber Heard. You know, she basically had that thing where she was accusing Johnny Depp of raping her. And so I don't know if you all noticed this, but most people actually sided with Johnny Depp on the issue. Even some feminists actually sided with Johnny Depp on the issue. And the reason why I believe that they did that is because this was a case of a white man who probably was in the right. I believe that Johnny Depp probably didn't do like what she's saying that he did, based on the case, based on the evidence, based on everything that I saw. And then, I guess like they saw that she was castigating and lying on and abusing this white man, right? And they were basically against it. They couldn't have that. They couldn't have one of their kings go down for some lying ass chick. So she's in that let the niggas have her category, because they see that she'll pull the he raped me card and she ain't even telling the truth. So they're like, let the niggas have her. And that's the thing. Amber Heard, from what I've seen, has never shown any interest in black men. But I'm just saying that the idea is that they don't care where she goes, so they consider us basically the scraps of society. So they'll throw the white women basically to us. So yeah, I think that that's what it kind of ends up boiling down to. But here's the reason why that's important, y'all. Because if a white woman castigates a white man, it is seen as a bad thing. If a black woman castigates a black man on TV, it is seen as a good thing. It is seen as, oh, they're divesting. It is portrayed that way. So I want to show you that there's a difference between the way they take these strong black women, they take these strong white women, and they portray them in a different way to create an adverse message. They do not want their white women looking strong. They want their white women to be submissive, and they want their white women to basically follow the code of white supremacy, whereas they want black women to divest and be at odds with black men all the time, and not be the way that black men would like for them to look, or that they might even want to look themselves. So the whole idea is to teach us, through images, that these are the differences between like the way that they're portraying white women and black women. So I just wanted to make that clear and kind of get that out and explain that to y'all. But anyway, if you got more on this topic, definitely leave me a comment at the end of this video. You also are welcome to ask questions and whatnot. Other than that, I probably will have more on this topic later down the line. But I hope you all enjoyed this, and there'll be more videos to come. So stay tuned, and I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.